lighthouse is located south of Newport on the B4239, which is labelled Lighthouse Road, until you get to St Bride's village, and there you turn left past their village hall onto Beach Road, which eventually brings you to a car park. From the car park it's a walk of about a mile along the seawall to get a good view of the lighthouse. West Usk Lighthouse was built by engineer James Walker in 1821. The lighthouse used to be on its own island. However, in about 1850, the land around the lighthouse had been reclaimed and had rejoined the lighthouse island to the mainland. The round tower used to be the home of the two keepers and their families. As a lighthouse keeper, I lived in a similar roundhouse when I served at Dungeness Lighthouse in Kent. All the rooms were shaped like wedges of cheese. It was decommissioned as an operational lighthouse in 1922. The owners reinstated the lantern in 1997 and relit in 2005. However, the new lantern isn't lit as a lighthouse. The lighthouse is now a private dwelling. It used to be a high-class B&B, but no longer has accommodation inside for guests, but they now rent out a cabin outside facing the sea. According to their website, they host weddings still and have a marquee in their grounds. And yes, that is the TARDIS you see in the grounds. They also owned a Dalek. Nash Point Lighthouse was originally two towers, a low and a high light. They formed a range for entering the Bristol Channel. Then eventually the low light was discontinued in the early 1920s. The high lighthouse in use today now has a red sector up in the lantern room which marks the dangerous sandbank off to the west. Inside the engine room of Nash Point Lighthouse, the first thing you come across are the free air receiving tanks. This is where the air is pumped into to make the foghorn blast that you hear. The foghorn is a siren and it does 2 blasts every 45 seconds. Or I should say it did. Inside this engine room is a Ruston and Hornsby Type 2YDA. That's the standby diesel generator. And you also have 2 diesel compressors. That's for the foghorn, and they are Gardner 3LWs with Revel compressors attached. So the Revel compressors were made by a firm, Revel, in Ipswich, that's in Suffolk. Now the 2 diesel compressors, when the keeper sees fog in the vicinity of the station, he will start up one of the engines to produce the air that drives the siren that makes the blasts. So one engine on and the other one is standby. From what I can ascertain, the engines in this engine house were placed in here in 1966. Previous to that, the engines that were here before were in service for 60 years. Just shows you how reliable these engines are. Here's something that I haven't seen for donkey's ears, as the term is, and that's a field full of cowslips, the flowers you see in front of you. They also discovered a very rare thistle, the tuberous thistle, in the grounds. So the grounds are now declared a site of special scientific interest, an SSSI. Okay, we're straight in the door and then turn right and into the base of the tower. And by power of deduction and lots of scratching of ancient lighthouse keepers' heads, we believe that keeper there is Tristan Sturley, assistant keeper, who was destined to be one of the last 6 keepers in the job to be made redundant. That's the watch keeping area where they've got computers watching already automated lighthouses. Now into the battery room. Masses of batteries in here, and they were to, if there was a mains failure and engine failure, these would take over and they would run the emergency light upstairs and all these systems that needed to be run. And one of them would be these computers, I guess, and there on your right is a radio beacon, and it would run that as well. The radio beacon was an old system of getting a bearing from a Morse-coded signal sent out from a lighthouse or whatever. You got a cross bearing on that, then you took another bearing off another radio beacon, and where they met is where you are at. And that is all Soviet warships there. Okay, up to the first level. Quite a tall tower, this one. And it's an enclosed tower, so there's rooms, like a proper lighthouse, I guess you would call it, into the kitchen area, for mainly for visiting personnel or keepers coming on duty relief, that sort of thing. But in my case, because I was staying the night here, I had use of this and the bedroom above. Out of there and up to the next level. It was a gloomy old day when I arrived, and this is further up the tower, and we're on this next level now, and this is straight into the toilet cum bathroom. And out of there and straight into the bedroom area, which is basically a bunk room, and this is where I've been placed for the night because I'm only here to video the lighthouse. And out through the window there is the engine room with the foghorn turrets on top and the old lighthouse. Right, out the door and up the next level. It's just empty rooms or empty areas. Up to the next level there. It's the flight we just came up. It's another empty level. I'm going up further still. Right, this is quite a tall tower, this one. Right, little sink in this room, or this level, cupboards, more cupboards, some glazing down there, and up to the next level, up there. Just spare glazing in there, red panels. Spare light bulbs. Right, carry on up. That's that room we were just in, or that level. We're carrying on up here. Right, to the door. The door we just came through. That's what that buzzing is. Controls for the light. And we go up through the stuff. Some lovely brass handrails here, like lighthouses used to be, so I better not grab hold. That's the flight we just came up, the last flight, and here we are in the lens. It's a fixed light. Quick walk round the lantern. Just a few of the vents left on the wall. Some don't look like originals. The old brass ones I used to have just for when it used to be an oil light for ventilation. Inside the lens you have 3 bulbs, one as you can see on, the other 2 are standby. Normally you have one on, one a standby, and the third one's final fail-safe emergency bulb. And the red panelling is to mark dangerous areas. That's the escape system. Basically a series of pulleys that lets you down on the outside of a lighthouse to escape fire. Right now we're up inside the actual lens. Although this is down as 2 white-red flash every 15 seconds, as you can see the lens does not rotate, it's just the bulb or the bulbs that do the flashing. Hence all that noise down below with the relays clacking in and out. With some of the shore stations doing these monitoring jobs on computers, we had to deal with all the alarms, constant alarms, mainly in the night, would you believe? Used to drive you mad at times, but eventually everything got ironed out over several months stroke years. And when everything was pristine and working perfectly, it then got transferred all to the Trinity House Control Centre in Harwich, Essex. One of the little things that I noticed, perhaps it says more about me than them, but originally we had a main bulb, a standby bulb, and an emergency bulb. Well, every now and then you would have an emergency light come up and you have to deal with it. But bosses-to-be didn't like the word emergency, so they changed it to main bulb, standby bulb, and second standby. Problem solved. There are 4 keepers' cottages on this complex, 2 at the far end, 2 at the base of the main lighthouse that is in use now. So 3 of the cottages were used for the keepers and their families from this station, and 1 was reserved for an offshore keeper and his family. Nash Point Lighthouse was destined to be the last manned lighthouse in Wales. It was automated in 1998 and the keepers removed.